Hello, everybody. It is Professor Parish, and we are on week 2, if you can believe it, of English 122. So I'm on our course homepage. As I'm recording this is Sunday. So if you've not completed the discussion forum for week 1, please make sure you've done so by tonight. But let's talk about week 2. So I'm going to pull over the module guide here for week 2. So as you can see here, there are a couple of things to do this week. So this is covering August 23rd to 29th. The two areas to read in our textbook, there is a section on plot from pages 14 to 16 and a section on writing effectively from pages 22 to 24. So we're going to mainly talk about the concept of plot in short stories. And plot it's a funny thing because a plot of a story can be extremely complex or it can be something very, very simple. And the thing that's unique about these scenarios is that neither is right or wrong. If you can relate to this, you've read books where the plot was really simple, but there was a lot of character development and it was a really strong plot, or you may have read stuff like Game of Thrones or something where the plot is insanely complex and takes a lot of time to kind of delve through. So, but in either case, no matter how you look at it, as long as the plot is quality and connects to the other elements of short story, like your characters, your point of view, your setting, then you can have a simple plot and still be effective, and you can have a complex plot and it still be as well. So make sure that you read those two sections there. I want to talk about our paper 1 guidelines though. So I'm going to pull those up here so you can see them. So this is our first paper. You have a couple options. I like giving a lot of options for papers because I feel like I hate as an English student when I was in college, I would hate when my instructor would give me one prompt. He'd be like, oh, write about pandas. And I'd be like, I don't like pandas, so why do I have to write about them? So I try to give you a lot of options as a writer so that as long as you stick with the theme of the paper, you're going to be all right. So you have 3 options for this paper. One, if you like creative writing, you can develop your own short story that utilizes the 7 elements of short story. So it has to have a plot, has to have characters, has to have a setting, has to have a distinct point of view, has to have a specific theme, has to include some sort of symbolism, and it has to be stylistic. So as long as your short story demonstrates that, you can create your own short story. I have a lot of students that like creative writing. They like doing this for our first paper. It's a chance for them to flex their skills. You can write about any genre you want. I'm pretty open with whatever your topic is. Just obviously it's college, you can write about certain things, but make it college appropriate. No NSFW stuff. So the second, if you're someone that does not like creative writing and you're like, oh, Professor Parish, that's not gonna work, then the next thing, this is a pretty common option as well. You can analyze and review a currently existing short story that's not in our textbook, or you can compare and contrast 2 or more stories from chapters 1 through 14. So if you have a short story in mind that you really like, you can analyze it and review it in your paper, or you can pick 2 short stories from chapters 1 through 14 in our textbook and you can compare and contrast those. So it kind of depends. If you choose options 2 or 3, it depends on what type of paper you like writing. If you're someone that really likes compare and contrast papers, I'd pick option 3. If you're someone that just likes analyzing and reviewing a short story, then you can pick option 2. So whatever option you pick is completely up to you. What you want to do is make sure that 1, the paper is at least 3 full pages long, not 2.5, not 2 1/4, to 3 full pages. 1-inch margins, you can see here, this is a 1-inch margin paper, and 12-point legible font. So no cursive, no fancy writing that I can't read. I would avoid Arial because Arial, even though it says it's 12-point font, it's not really. And I know as a student that you may be very tempted to use Arial because it looks bigger, but I will be giving you points based on if you have the appropriate content and the appropriate page length. This should be an essay format, meaning it should have an introduction and a conclusion. If you choose the creative writing option, your intro and conclusion will be a little bit more stylized, but as long as I can tell it has a start and an ending, you'll be all right. You should cite your textbook in MLA. So I want us to practice with MLA citation. So part of the formatting and page length grade will be at the end of your paper, make sure that you cite your textbook and just put it in MLA format. You do not have to use in-text citations unless you use your, if you choose option 1, let me say it this way. If you choose option 1, you just have to have your textbook cited at the very end of the paper. If you choose options 2 or 3, you still need that citation at the end of the paper, but if you do any research in your analysis or your compare and contrast, you need to reference with an in-text citation the textbook or any other optional sources you choose to use. And then obviously you have to have a separate works cited page and in-text citations with your sources. So those are the guidelines. As far as due dates, your thesis statement will be due August 29th. So I'll talk about that assignment here in a moment. Your draft, we're gonna do some draft review in class. That's gonna be due September 19th. And so what I mean is that your draft is gonna be you submitting your paper by September 19th. And then if you decide to revise it, I'll send your paper back with your grade, and you'll have until October 3rd to revise. So we've got about a month to work on this paper, which seems like a very long time, and it is. So there's no reason why you can't get this assignment done. It is worth 100 points, so it is a very crucial part of your grade in this class. How those points break down is that your intro and conclusion will be 20 points, grammar and spelling will be 35 points, content and analysis of the whole paper will be 30 points, and then your formatting page length will be 15. So if you have any questions, you can always email me, but because you have so long to work on this paper, none of them are accepted for credit. If you don't submit a draft on September 19th, you cannot revise. I've had some students send me their papers after the fact, and they're like, oh, will you take it? No, this is kind of an all or nothing assignment. You either turn it in by the September 19th date, and you get the chance to revise, or you don't submit it on time, and you just get a 0. So make sure that you submit this paper on time. As far as what's due this week, we'll go back to that guide. You have a discussion forum and your paper 1 thesis. So let me go back to here. And the paper 1 thesis is, make sure you've read the guidelines, which if you're watching this video, you've done so. All I want to know is, what is the topic of your paper? So which option did you pick? There were 3 options. So which one did you pick? And then what exactly are you writing about? That's part 1. Part 2 is, I would like you to outline your paper. So basically you create a skeletal framework that tells me the points that you're writing about. I mean, it can be very basic. This is all a work in progress, so it doesn't have to be extensive. I just want to know, what are you writing about and how are you going to organize your thoughts? If you're choosing option 1 with creative writing, then you really can put it, if you don't want to spoil me on what's going to happen, you can say, Professor, I am going to talk about this plot point, but I don't want to spoil you, so it's just going to be about something general, like a car chase or something. And I'll be like, okay. It just needs to show me, basically, that you know what you're writing about and you have an idea in mind. Because my goal with this assignment is that I don't want you to be that 3 a.m. deadline writer, right? I don't want you to be waking up in a cold sweat Saturday night at 3 a.m. being like, oh, my paper's due today, I haven't started on it, and then freak out all day trying to get this paper written, and it end up being poor because you didn't spend a lot of time on it and you were stressed. So hopefully with this outline, you have an idea of what you're going to write, so that when you sit down to write, you know exactly what you're doing, okay? So that's the idea behind the assignment. And then for week 2's discussion forum, let me go over here, find old week 2 here. Basically, I really like Lindsay Ellis. She's a great video essayist. She's a theater and writing major that does a lot of video essays about various films and books. And she did a series for PBS talking about different aspects of literature. And this video is about the concept of the unreliable narrator, which I didn't really think much about the unreliable narrator until watching this video. And after seeing it, I noticed it in a lot of different literary texts and in a lot of different shows. And I really like that. I think that her point about it is really interesting. She says some really cool things about the concept of the unreliable narrator. So it's only about 8 minutes long, the video is. So after you watch the video, in your discussion post, I want to know, have you read a story with an unreliable narrator? If so, give an example. And if not, just say you haven't, but explain to me what you think it is. Question 2, in your opinion, what are the pros and cons of using an unreliable narrator? There's clearly some good and bad points, and you can always reference Lindsay's video if you want to. And 3, would you use an unreliable narrator in your own writing? Why or why not? And you can explain that. So I'm really curious to know what y'all think of each other's answers. And so far with the discussion forum post for week 1, y'all done a really good job. Like, I think some of your examples are really interesting. Everybody's responses have been awesome. Like, y'all have been doing an excellent job responding to each other's posts. So I'm very happy with that. But just make sure you have proper grammar and spelling. If you are using an example of a text or a movie, a book or a movie, make sure you italicize your titles. But otherwise, if you have any questions about your discussion forum or paper 1 or the thesis outline, make sure just to let me know. Send me an email through the inbox here, and you can send me an old email here, and I'll be happy to get back to you. But yeah, that is module 2 this week. We're slowly easing into the course, easing into having our textbook. If you don't have your textbook yet, make sure that you get it this week. You will need it for this class, so make sure you have it. But as always, please feel free to ask me any questions, and I'll be happy to answer them. So in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll talk to you all again real soon.